Hi everyone, this is María Paula Ortuz Salazar, student of Industrial Design from the Universidad Nacional Abierta y a Distancia, and on today's video we will be going over the film Klaus, which is a Spanish film created and directed by Sergio Pablos, who is a director from Spain who also worked with different films in Walt Disney productions such as Tarzan, Hercules, and other films. On today's video, we will be focusing on the animation of the film, a little bit of a cultural context, and of course, a quick resume of the actual film. So, for us to actually understand what happened on that movie. The movie Klaus is a comedy Christmas movie where we are focused on a mailman, which is called Jasper. Jasper is our protagonist, same with Klaus, but first we are introduced to Jasper, who is an arrogant person who does not really want to work. However, his father sends him to Smithsburg, which is the city and the island where everything happens. So once he's moved there, he is supposed to get 6,000 letters. However, he noticed that due to an ancient enmity, there are no letters. There are no letters sent from anywhere. So he starts to see that it's a huge challenge to actually achieve the 6,000 letters so that he can move out and go back to the luxury life that he used to have. With this, the time passes, he notices that nothing ever changes, there are no letters, everything has passed, and then he goes to a house where there's a kid who has like a little paper, a drawing, and he takes it, put it in an envelope and takes it. Once we have this envelope, he goes to another cabin he didn't know existed in the island, and there was, because of something that happens, I'm not going to spoil it, this letter goes to Klaus. Then Klaus has a lot of toys, and he wants to send this toy to the kid that, the original kid where we get the letter. Not the letter, but the drawing. Once we have this toy and we send it to the kid, he's really happy, and this word starts to spread across the town. So all the kids want a toy. Every kid wants a toy, and then Jasper says, hey, I have an idea. If you kids bring me a letter of what you want and a penny, I'll go ahead and talk to Klaus and I'll give you the toy that you want. So he starts this kind of business in a sense, so that way he starts getting some letters. And Klaus can start sending the toys that he used to have. This movie starts kind of slow, but then you start getting traction. You can start seeing how it is connected to the actual tradition of Santa Claus. So you can start saying like, okay, I have the toys, I'm sending it to the kids, but the kids cannot see me. So we have this mailman, which is the magic, where he puts the presents, which are the toys, on the houses of the kids. Then we can start saying like, we have too many toys and we cannot just carry it on by ourselves. So that's when we have the reindeers coming up. Then we have the sled. So everything is coming up together for the tradition, but plus there's no actual magic, as it happens in all Christmas movies. This is kind of a more realistic place, and pretty much at the end of the day, Klaus passes away, and this is where the magic kind of starts, where Klaus comes just on Christmas night to send the gifts and send the toys to the kids, and this is the only time where Klaus and Jasper meet again. This is pretty much the movie. Once again, it's a Christmas movie, so of course we are in the tradition of Santa Claus, but now moving on to the animation and the actual cultural context. So for cultural context, as mentioned at the beginning, we are located in the city of Slivensburg, which is an actual city, an actual island that exists in Norway. However, is currently uninhabited. However, it used to be habitated in the century of the 1600s. So it was already, there was people living in there. However, it's no longer being used. But it is something really important because we are in the North Pole, and also with all the tradition of Santa Claus, we have to take into consideration that we have to focus on a in a north place, and also we can see at the beginning of the movie and during the movie that this is so far away that no one goes there, no one wants to go there, no one wants to be sent there. Create something from that place that it's just despicable to the rest of the world. So this is something really important. And also we have a little kid called Magu, who is a little kid which we do not understand towards the movie because they are using a different language that is not being translated to us. It doesn't really matter the language where you're watching the movie. It's called the cultural Sami, which is something that used to live in that area in Norway. So the language is really different. So it's something that we have also where we have this cultural change where Jesper and nobody understand what this kid is saying, but when we try and when we actually have this empathy and when we want to actually ensure that everyone feels welcomed, we do everything that we can to understand each other. So we have this cultural change, this cultural shock, where we have Jesper, we have Klaus, we have the entire city not understanding, and now we have Magu, that even though we do not understand it, we want to help her, and at the end of the day, with the help of a teacher, which it's I didn't mention her, but it's really also important in the story. With the help of this teacher, we are able to understand what she wants and how to translate that into the gifts. So it also demonstrates this, and also this represents an alternative origin of Santa Claus. Of course, we know 1,000 movies of the origin of Santa Claus, that it was an old big guy who liked to provide gifts, but here it's a little bit different because the history behind Santa Claus is totally different from what we usually hear. We have here that he had a wife, they wanted to have kids, and that's when he started creating toys. However, they're not able to get kids, and the wife gets sick, then she passes away, and he stops doing everything. He just starts building birdhouses, and that's the way that he just and continues doing what he loves, which is doing manual things. However, it's no longer toys because there are no kids coming in. But when he meets Jasper, when he reads or when he has the letter and the drawing from that kid, something sparks in him, and now he has motivation, and he wants to continue doing toys, bringing them to the kids, and there's a purpose now. With that, it's really important for Santa Claus. And that's when we start, and when we have a total different origin of what we used to have. Now, we talk about the cultural shock, what happened with Klaus, but not a lot about the animation. Klaus, and something that Sergio Pablos wanted to do with this movie is get back to the traditional animation, something that has not been happening in the past couple of years. However, he wanted to get back to this traditional animation using other type of animation techniques that change a little bit from what we are used to see. So we have a little bit of texturization, so we can actually see some texture, even though it's drawing, even though it's animation, we can actually see if there's a texture, if there's something that is supposed to be, for example, silk, if it's something that is supposed to be cotton, hair, we can actually see the texture, and also the volumetric lighting. This is pretty critical towards the movie. If you identify, you can see the little breeze, you can actually see it, you can see the gray, you can see the cloudy, how you can actually see the fog when you are entering the Smittensburg Island. You can actually see the fog. When you pass towards it, you can see the light, and it actually brings life to the animation. So that's something that Sergio Pablos wanted to implement. However, this story and all of these idea from Sergio Pablos wanted to be, and it was presented in 2015. However, everyone says it's too risky, I'm not willing to pay for this production because I don't know if it will be helpful or if I'll get something from this. Up until 2017, where the production A3 Medicine decided to take the project and say, okay, I'll take the risk. Since nobody wants it, I'll take the risk. And then in November of that same year, Netflix decided to take the copyright for the worldwide distribution. And then it was launched in the year of 2019 in the International Festival of Annecy. And then the actual premiere was in November of 8th of 2019 in some cinemas. Here we can see that because of this change and trying to do something a little bit different from what was happening during that entire year and that decade, that it had nothing to do with the traditional drawings. We were aiming towards 3D animation, something a little bit more modern, but Sergio Pablos take the risk to do something going back to the traditional, and the most important part was the volumetric lighting. This production got a nomination to the Oscars, the Annie, the BAFTA, the Goya. We had a lot of nominations, and it was winner on most of the previous Annie, and even got the best animated movie for that specific year, which was 2019. So even though Klaus didn't got that much hype, it's a really, really great movie. When I watch it, I had to watch it a couple of times, and I really, really like the story. I really like that it's something different from what we are used to see when it comes to comedy, when it comes to Christmas, and also Santa Claus. We are used to the same story over and over again, but it has something different. It connects with you, and even though it's a Christmas movie, it doesn't really sticks to the Christmas. We know that it's Santa Claus, that we know it's Christmas, but it doesn't. During the movie, you do not see that it's a Christmas movie because we are so focused on community, we are so focused on giving to the others, empathizing with the others, changing patterns to get better as a society, and not in Christmas, gifts, and just pretty much what we are used to. So I do really recommend this movie if you like animation, if you like comedy, and if you have an hour and 30 minutes. It's really short movie and that you will enjoy 1000%.